Got a lot of reviews coming up for you guys this week, so stay tuned to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about Bowser's Fury. Tomorrow I have Deathloop, and then on Wednesday I will be talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake Intermission DLC, which was mind-blowing beyond belief. But today, let's talk a little bit about Bowser's Fury. Now, I did a video when this game first launched. According to Wikipedia, it launched in November 21st, 2013, which I know is not true because I think that's pointing to the Super Mario 3D World game. Actually, does it say when it released? I feel like my sense of time has gotten completely turned upside down and backwards because the reality is COVID took away so much from all of us. It was actually this year, believe it or not. It was February 12th, 2021. Holy smokes. That seems like a lifetime ago. Anyways, Bowser's Fury. Fun game. Very different. This is Nintendo really experimenting with a true open world, something I haven't really felt since the opening scenes of Super Mario 64. That awe and wonder when you open the castle doors and you're like, what is behind here? And you're walking around the hallways and opening rooms and seeing like, where does everything lead to? Now, ultimately, that game did become very instanced, and it definitely led a precedent for future Mario games that are also very instanced, sometimes grander in scale. I think Super Mario Odyssey is a masterpiece in its level design, but at the end of the day, the levels are not interconnected. They are very contained. And as elaborate and as exciting as places like New Donk City, where I'd love to live one day, exist, the reality is it is very compartmentalized. You walk into a room, you walk into a zone, and the zone is themed in that area, and that's it. Bowser's Fury takes a very different approach. It is a true open world. Anything you see, you can walk to or swim to or catch a ride to. And in that world, while things don't necessarily interact necessarily with each other, you have that same kind of Mario biomes or world areas, for lack of a better word. The difference is there's no loading screen to get to them, and it makes the scale much grander. It also really does, and I think this is something really to this game's credit, forces you to explore much more than any other Mario game. When you think of Mario Odyssey, part of the challenge is, hey, collect so many moons before you power up the ship and move on to the next level. And while they do give you clues to the moons, the reality is your interaction with the world is somewhat limited. The power-ups that you gain are only from that area. So if there's a themed power-up, like when Mario can possess something like a bullet bill or whatever, that ability and that possession is only going to be for that specific area. You're not going to be able to take a different power-up or different ability and bring it over. More so, you're also kind of limited in your exploration and your solving of a puzzle. Not to say it's bad, it's still a lot of fun. There are still a lot of moons out there that really had me scratching my head in terms of like, wait, what am I exactly supposed to be doing right now? And I think that's quite a bit of fun. The difference, though, with Bowser's Fury being more open world is that the challenges are a little bit different. There's more ways to tackle them because since each area can be interacted to and connected from other areas, there are different ways to get somewhere. Namely, when Bowser appears and he is a menace throughout the entire game, the world changes yet again. He begins to rain down fireballs and lava on you. And he can change the world. He can break blocks that you couldn't normally break before. And it kind of puts a different twist and spin on the challenges. And I really like that. So I think from a pure exploration standpoint, this is by far the most ambitious Mario title to date in terms of really pushing the envelope of traditional Mario platforming, not introducing RPG elements like they did in Mario RPG or some of the other DS experiences, but really just getting away from that basic level design and opening it up. It almost reminds me of a Breath of the World light. I mean, a very, very light version of Breath of the World. Breath of the Wild. But nonetheless, a world in which you can freely explore and navigate through in a very distinct way from other Mario games. And I really like that about the game. You can start a challenge and maybe you don't have the power up you need. You can leave by going to another area by just, like I said, walking or swimming or catching a ride with your friendly dinosaur. That's all great ways to traverse. And when then you come back later, when you maybe have a different power up, or maybe when Bowser is present and he's menacing and large and he's shooting fireballs at you, maybe you need him to help you kind of get to the next area. And I like that sense of progression, and it made me feel much more engaged with the world than I typically do in a Mario game. The world felt much more like a playground in other Mario games, and I really appreciated the care and level design that Nintendo took into making such a great world. Obviously, the culminations are these massive, larger-than-life battles with Bowser, but then the world is shrunk down, and these platforms and stuff that you had a hard time navigating through are microscopic on the map because you're massive, and you're picking up things that Bowser used to use as platforms, using them almost as a weapon to fight back Bowser, and culminating in this just larger-than-life, heavy rock music, covered in rain, lightning, dark, evil, sinister fight. And they're all very, very epic. And I feel like the ending was climactic. You're basically in a chase scene, chasing after him, and he's attacking you, and you're trying to navigate around from his attacks. And it was very fun, very, very different. I think this game, the only place where I feel like this game really struggles is I feel like the Nintendo Switch hardware just wasn't up to the task. I had a litany of technical issues, significantly graphic degradation. You could tell the Switch was trying its best through some sort of variable adaptive rate to try to keep the action flowing. And to their credit, most of the time this game does achieve 60 frames a second, which I think is really amazing for what Nintendo could pull off. But you had a lot of issues that now enter into a Mario world that may not have entered into a Mario world before, such as pop-ins, such as draw distance, and namely in terms of just overall frame rate. Many times the frame rate would dip to very, very low levels, almost to a complete stutter stop. Of course, those are when the action is the craziest, when you're trying to pull off some crazy platforming challenge while Bowser is raining fireballs down on you and shooting waves of lava at you. The rain's going. There's a lot of reflections in the game. It's very a tense moment. And if you're in the middle of a challenge and Bowser shows up, you obviously can finish the challenge later. But if it's something related to platforming, or if it's something that you're kind of understanding how to do, like there's one challenge, very simple, I'll give you an example. You have to use a piranha plant to eat, I think it's like 30 enemies in an enclosed area. And Bowser showed up during this for me, which is fine. He showed up quite a bit other times. But the platforms you're standing on, if you stand on them too long, they fall to the water. And I'm trying to go around and collect these things while Bowser's shooting at me. And there's some pretty tricky platforming. And the game freezes just enough that it throws off my jump. And instead of me completing the challenge, I fall off and I died. And I was like, well, this seems really unfair because unlike other games where you could say, oh, it got a little jittery or, blame it on the lag kind of thing. I've never heard that as an excuse for a Mario game. And yet I had one. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So I love the ambition of this game. I love the idea of it, but it worries me when Nintendo is pushing in this direction. And I hope we get more of this, a lot more of this, because this is a really good thing. It takes Mario in a very radical direction from where we've seen him in the past. But it worries me because we are having so many performance issues with the Nintendo Switch hardware. And as they get smarter and as they add in more things, more puzzles, more environments, it's just going to stress the existing system hardware even more so than it's stressed now. And that's what really worries me. The new Pokemon game coming out next year, Arceus, I believe that's the name of it. It's this kind of open world Pokemon game. And go back and look at those screenshots and go back and look at some of that gameplay and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. The Switch hardware is holding back some creative vision, definitely holding back performance. That worries me. If Nintendo can figure that out though, I have full faith that a game like Bowser's Fury could exist in the Mario sphere. There's still plenty of space for Mario. The guy's in every possible game Nintendo's ever made, whether it's fighting or racing or golfing or boxing. You name the sport, Mario has been in it. But we haven't really ever seen Mario in a world like this, almost like a Zelda-type world, where there's a lot more exploration that is required. And I wouldn't necessarily say puzzles per se, but the challenges are much more elaborate, and there are multiple ways to solve the challenges because of that open world environment. And I'm really, really excited for that. So I hope that enough people played this game and showed Nintendo that, hey, experimenting with a thing like this absolutely works. It was kind of weird the way that it came out because it's kind of like tacked on to Super Mario 3D World. Like, it was a little odd kind of how that worked out. But now seeing it, I would love a full-priced, full experience of Bowser's Fury 2 or some edition thereof, which I think would be fascinating. Last little thing before I wrap up today's review. I absolutely adored the fact that Bowser Jr. was your ally. It was so baffling to have a villain, not that he's so menacing in his own right, but have a villain kind of to be your sidekick. His AI was never in the way, and oftentimes he helped me out, even though I had him set on basically low interference, which means, other words, like he didn't really get in my way. He'd collect coins for me. I was about to fall off a cliff, and he like flew under and let me jump on his head for like a free mulligan, which allowed me to redo the jump, and I made it. He just seems to be a fun little sidekick, and I'm happy that Nintendo continues to push the envelope, so to speak, of the Mario lore, mixing and matching characters that don't necessarily go along together to make a grand and, wild adventure. But definitely Bowser Jr. and Mario had their hands full in Bowser's Fury, and it was a great, great experience. I can't say enough good things about that game. And I can't wait to see if Nintendo can continue that formula to advance that type of concept, because it was really, really good. I hope you guys found this video review of Bowser's Fury informative. Leave some comments below. I'd love to hear from you guys on your thoughts. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow with Deathloop. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.